have to have some sort of face covering.
So this is in direct violation with the health unit mandate. Are you aware of that?
We've actually been contracted with the health unit, and they're okay with it.
A few days ago, I caught up with Betty Wilson, an elderly woman who was denied access to McDonald's because her medical condition prevents her from wearing a mask safely. Here's what Betty has to say.
On July the 27th, my daughter-in-law and 3 grandchildren were down camping at Cole Campgrounds in Brighton, and I'd come in here between 1 and 1:30 on July 27th to inquire what 5 meal deals would cost, because I was going to come through the drive-thru later on to pick them up for the kids for supper. And the woman I was talking to was very, very nice, and that inside the door, and all of a sudden somebody came over and said, you have to leave. I said, pardon? They said, you have to leave. I said, why? She said, because you aren't wearing a mask. I said, I don't have to wear a mask. I said, and she said, get out of my store. And there were 3 or 4 witnesses around at the time, but I was so devastated, and that I was in tears, so I left.
And Betty, can you tell me, how old are you? Do you mind giving us a little bit of your medical background, and then what your doctors have told you about wearing a mask?
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to be 78 years old in November, and that I have idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. I've had it since 2011, and that at first it started out in that just shortness of breath, but then they ended up having to put me on oxygen because my oxygen was way down in the 70s, and it's supposed to be in the 90s. So since 2011, I've been wearing my mask. My family doctor and my lung respirologist in Kingston have both told me not to wear a mask, that it compromises my breathing too much.
And just on that note, they also don't see the need to give you a formal exemption because legally, places such as McDonald's and other establishments aren't allowed to ask what your reasoning is for not wearing a mask. Can you confirm that?
Yes, I can confirm that. Like they aren't allowed to ask you, and not for any records or any papers or anything. They're supposed to just take us at our good word.
Did you bring that up to the woman in July that was removing you from the restaurant?
No, I didn't have a chance. She was just busy yelling at me to get out.
That must have been quite embarrassing. Can you touch on what's the follow-up? Where have you gone since July to try to get some advocacy, someone to help you? I mean, I understand that you tried to offer to wear a shield, and even that was denied.
Yes, that's true. A friend of mine saw it on Facebook because I'd posted it on Facebook, and he brought me out a shield, and I had tried different places. I tried our MPP, I tried the health unit, I tried the OPP and everything, and they all got back to me and said no, they couldn't do anything. And that, so anyway, when the other manager phoned back the following day, I asked him, I said, I got a face shield now, can I come over with a face shield? And he said, no, it has to be a mask. And that, so anyway, I will not go back into McDonald's here in Trenton at all, and that they won't get me back.
And I understand as well, you and I spoke off camera, that this particular owner also has ownership of other facilities that you are boycotting?
Yeah, that's for sure, and that they've got a couple more McDonald's here in Trenton, and they've got the one on 401 at Brighton. And so I'm not going to any of them. Some friends of mine and that told me to go to ones in Belleville or elsewhere, and that's what I'll do if I go to McDonald's and that. So, but anyway, in that I just felt so humiliated and embarrassed in that when this happened. I could have been kicked out of better places.
And you can see, I mean, there are many disabilities that we can't physically see, but I can see you have oxygen, you're carrying the pouch, you're all suited up here with the tubes. I mean, this is outrageous and egregious.
It really is, and that, like I can go over to Timmy's, I could go any place, and I haven't been asked to wear a mask.
Have you thought at all about filing a discrimination claim with the Ontario Human Rights Commission?
I did phone the human rights and that, and they said it would take over a year and that before they could even do anything with my claim. I phoned Todd Smith's office, I phoned the health unit and everything, and nobody can do anything. They said it's up to the business. Who they serve.
But meanwhile, and let me just pull this up on my phone. I was looking at the mandate from the health unit today, and they clearly state, can a person be refused service for not wearing a face covering? The health unit goes on to say that it should be enforced in good faith, and should an individual refuse to wear a mask after one reminder, the establishment need not refuse access or require proof of exemption. So is it safe to say that McDonald's is going against the order from the health unit that they seem to simultaneously be enforcing?
I would say so, and that there you have it. You have it there.
Where do you go from here, Betty? Is it just boycotting McDonald's? Do you have any plans to take anything higher?
No, I don't. And I heard about Rebel News and that, like from a good friend of mine, and that's when I got in touch with you about it.
Well, thank you. So maybe the idea is that I will head in and see if we can get a manager's comment here at McDonald's in Trenton, Ontario.
Hi, I'm sorry, you must have your face covered.
Oh, I'm exempt actually.
Unfortunately, to come into the store, because it's private property, you have to have some sort of face covering.
So this is in direct violation with the health unit mandate. Are you aware of that?
We've actually been contracted with the health unit, and they're okay with it.
Okay, because I was looking at their mandate this morning and I saw otherwise online that no person should be refused service. So is there a manager?
I'm a manager, she's a manager, and our store manager is also here.
Thanks, awesome. Okay, so can I speak to you for a moment then?
I will go get my store manager.
Thanks. Hi there. I understand you're the store manager?
Yes.
What's your name?
Josh.
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 Do you have a last name?
I'm not gonna get that out.
Okay. So I have been contacted by a woman named Betty Wilson, and she was actually kicked out of this location because she's unable to wear a mask. She carries an oxygen tank, and she has, she's clearly on oxygen with tubes hooked up to her nose. And so I was reviewing the health unit mandate here, which says that you need not refuse access to a patron or require proof of an exemption. So I wonder, is McDonald's going in direct conflict with the health unit mandate?
No.
That's
So
the
we-
mandate from the health unit, though. I
We
pulled
offer
that
service
from
through our
the.
curbside or our drive-through.
But you're refusing service inside based on someone who medically cannot wear a mask.
We have service through curbside or drive-through for them.
And you are denying someone access inside your establishment
We are offering
when they
our service
cannot
through
wear a
curbside
mask.
or drive-through.
Okay, and so when someone's medically exempt, do you understand that this is discrimination?
It's not. We are offering our service through curbside or drive-through.
Okay, but the health unit mandate says that you need not refuse access.
We are not refusing. We are offering different means of
Well,
service.
this woman at the door refused me access, and Betty Wilson was refused access.
Okay, so we offer our services through curbside or drive-through if you're unable to wear a mask.
Yeah, which she isn't, and so the health unit mandate says that you need not refuse access
So we are not refusing.
or
we're offering
require
other means of
access to an exemption.
service. We are offering other means of service.
And otherwise, people cannot enter your
They cannot
facility.
enter the facility unless they can wear a mask. They can use our curbside or drive-through.
So if they have a medical exemption, you aren't honoring that.
We are offering them our service through other means.
I see that you're just repeating the same thing over
Yes.
again. All right, well, we'll see how this turns out. The Ontario Human Rights Commission also states that people cannot be denied entry because it's discrimination. Are you aware of this?
I am following what our owner has allowed us to do.
And the Health Unit and the Ontario Human Rights Commission? Not them?
I am following what our owner has said for us to do.
Is the owner here?
No, it's not.
It's just you, Josh,
Yes.
Mr. No last name.
Correct.
Again, Betty wasn't trying to be served or eat in the restaurant. She merely had questions about a meal deal. Instead of politely answering her questions, she was humiliated and shamed for not being able to wear a mask. So of course, I reached out to the Hastings Prince Edward Public Health Unit for comment. Specifically, I wanted clarification on the parts of the order that clearly state exemptions exist and that establishments should not refuse access or require proof of an exemption. But also, I wanted to know, one, how does the health unit ensure that businesses are knowledgeable about how to proceed in a kind and respectful manner when individuals cannot or do not wear face coverings? 2, what complaint process is in place for businesses that do not respect the exemptions as per the health unit order? And 3, further to the above, how does the health unit follow up on such complaints and remedy the situation with the business owner? 4, are they familiar with the Ontario Human Rights Code on COVID-19, Section 13, specifically where they state that they recommend but do not require people to wear face coverings, and that, quote, the Ministry of Health advises that face coverings should not be placed on or used by children under the age of 2, anyone who has trouble breathing, or anyone who is unable to remove their mask without assistance. Their response? Well, instead of utilizing the person that our tax dollars pay to answer media questions, they simply directed me back to the very same document that I sourced my questions from, the beginning of which states, the acting medical officer of health has instructed owners and operators of commercial establishments operating under stage 2 of the provincial reopening to have policies in place to stop people from entering the establishment if they are not wearing a non-medical mask or face covering. The medical officer of health has instructed owners and operators of all enclosed public spaces. So is the health unit here completely ignoring the Human Rights Commission? Are they promoting a culture of discrimination by implementing an order while simultaneously leaving businesses in the dark to enforce their egregious order, which clearly has conflicting information? At the end of the day, is this what the world is coming to? When an elderly woman on oxygen comes into a restaurant to ask questions about their menu options, come back and be respectful of the protocols, is rudely kicked out, her condition highlighted, and caused undue harassment? And Mr. Josh, no last name manager, simply regurgitates jargon instead of accommodating patrons' individual needs. Is that the new normal? Removing human interaction in exchange for scripted, robotic responses based on a loosely worded mandate with zero clarity from the same establishment ordering it? Well, a poor elderly woman with a valid and visible medical condition just wants to treat her grandchildren to some McDonald's. She's humiliated and treated like a typhoid Mary? With Rebel News, I'm Tamara Ugolini. Did you know that we have sweet and perhaps even a little salty Rebel News swag? Head on over to rebelnewsstore.com to check out our apparel, stickers, and other fun products. That's rebelnewsstore.com.